Translation is the process of conveying the meaning of a text in one language into a text in another language that communicates effectively with the intended audience. Effective translation goes beyond simply substituting words from one language for another. Translator must consider the nuances of meaning, cultural context, and the intended audience. This video will explore various translation types and strategies, empowering you to approach translation text with a nuanced understanding. So let's explore the types of translation. Types of translation consist of 4 types. They are interpreting, literary translation, scientific technical translation, and subtitling.
First type is interpreting. Interpreting is oral conversion into target language. A person doing interpreting called interpreter. Mona Baker distinguished the 6 types of interpreting. The first one is community interpreting. Community interpreting is used in public facilities such as police, social service, custom, medical centers, immigration service, etc. It is usually consecutive and two-way. An interpreter is not only a translator but also a social intermediary.
Next is legal interpreting or court interpreting. English terminology distinguishes precisely between legal and court interpreting. Legal interpreting refers to all types of interpreting in legal procedures, such as questioning and the police and customs, interviews with solicitors, public autonomy, etc. Court interpreting refers to strictly to interpreting in the court of law.
Next, conference interpreting. Conference interpreting demands a group of interpreters who are interpreting to participants of a conference, usually in multiple languages. It can be done in any mode of interpreting, but most common is simultaneous.
Next, business interpreting. Business interpreting is used in business world where different companies communicate with their clients, etc.
Next one is technical interpreting. Technical interpreting is very wide area of interpreting such as mechanics, electronics, telecommunication, mobile technology, etc. Which means that the interpreter must specialize in a certain area.
Next, dubbing. Dubbing is oral translation of television shows where the source spoken text is substituted with the target language. Dub text tries to follow the source text regarding the lack of speech, the use of words, etc.
The second one is literary translation. Literary translating is defined as translating literary works such as poetry, prose, and drama. Literary translation means translating belletristic works only. Literary translators are required to be familiar with literary history, literary theory, translation theory, and cultural history of linguistic communities from which and into which they are translating.
The third type is scientific technical translation. Scientific technical translation is a translation of scientific or technical text. The translation must be very consistent, precise, and must be familiar the area his expertise very well. Style must be objective, ambiguous, unemotional, and clear. Thus, long sentence and complicated clause structure should be avoided.
The last type is subtitling. Subtitling is written translating of television shows. Written translation of speech is written at the bottom of the screen simultaneously with speech itself. Subtitles are written into lines, one of which does not exceed 35 signs. Subtitles are center or left aligned. Next, we will explore the strategies of translation. The translation process involves 3 stages: analysis, transferring, and restructuring, as outlined by Nida. Different scholars suggest various types, categorizations, and classifications for the strategies according to their particular perspectives. Here, some of these typologies are mentioned.
The first one is Tesserman's classification. According to Chesterman, local translation strategies can be categorized into semantic, syntactic, and pragmatic changes. Each group has its own subcategories. Let's jump to the classification. The first one is syntactic strategies. These strategies aims to modify the grammatical structure of the target text while preserving the meaning. Here are some examples. By literal translation, directly translation the source text structure, like the book is on the table, being translated to El libro está sobre la mesa in Spanish. By transposition, changing the word class but maintaining meaning, like the flying bird translated to El pájaro volando in Spanish, where flying becomes a verb participle.
Second one is semantic strategies. These strategies focus on conveying the source text meaning accurately, even if it requires altering the wording or structure in the target language. These are some of the examples. The first one by synonym. Replacing a word with a synonym that has a similar meaning in the target language, like happy being translated to contento in Spanish. The second one by paraphrase. Restating the source text meaning using different words while preserving the core idea, like it was raining heavily being translated to estaba lloviendo a Santaros in Spanish, which literally means it was raining in pictures.
The last is pragmatic strategies. Ensure the translated text is suitable for the target audience and their cultural context. These are the examples. The first, cultural substitution, replacing a cultural specific item or expression with a target language equivalent that resonates with the target audience. For instance, translating American football to football americano in Spanish, instead of a literal translation that might not be familiar to the audience. Next, omission, excluding unnecessary elements from the source text that wouldn't be culturally relevant or clear in the target language.
Becker's taxonomy. Mona Becker proposed 8 translation strategies used by professional translators to address challenges encountered during the translation process. These strategies focus on various aspects of the source text and aim to produce a neutral and understandable target text. Here's a breakdown of Becker's strategies.
The first is translation by a more general word. This strategy involves replacing a specific word in the source text with a more general term in the target language that conveys a similar meaning. This is often used when a direct translation may be awkward or unnatural. For example, translating the delicious chocolate cake to the tasty cake generalizes chocolate.
The second is translation by a more neutral or less expressive word. This strategy aims to tone down the emotional intensity or expressiveness of the source text language, making it more neutral or objective in the target text. Example, translating, I was incredibly happy to see you, to I was pleased to see you, less expressive.
Third is translation using cultural substitution. This strategy replaces cultural specific items or expression in the source text with target language equivalents that resonate with the target audience cultural background. For example, translating let's celebrate with a bonfire to let's have a barbecue, or cultural substitution for a familiar celebration practice.
The fourth is translation using a loan word or loan word plus explanation. This strategy is use specific concepts or items that lack direct equivalent in the target language. The translator might use the source language itself, loan word, or explain alongside loan word for better understanding. This is the example.
The fifth is translation by a paraphrase using a related word. This strategy involves rephrasing the source text using related word in the target language, especially when a direct translation might not be a natural or when a specific term is overly frequent in the source text. Example, translating "she is a very intelligent young lady" to "she is a bright young woman." Paraphrase using related words.
6 is translation by paraphrase using unrelated words. This strategy is employed when there's no direct equivalent or related word in the target language to express the concept from the source text. The translator paraphrases using unrelated words while preserving the core meaning. Example, translating, "He has a way with words," to "He is persuasive." Paraphrase using unrelated words.
7 is translation by omission. The strategy involves omitting certain elements from the source text that might be unnecessary or unclear in the target culture. It is crucial to ensure that omitted information does not significantly alter the meaning of the translated text. For example, omitting the source text mention of specific type of flower if it is not relevant to the target audience and replacing it with a generic term like flower.
The last one is translation by illustration. This strategy used when the target language lacks a direct equivalent for physical entity mentioned in source text. The translator might use illustration or description to convey meaning visually. For example, including an image of a specific fruit mentioned in the short text if there's no direct translation, or using a textual description to explain appearance and taste.